Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. TheOnlyGround.com, onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knick-knack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. This is Chris Lights Out Lytle, and this is our journey to document the history of mixed martial arts. I have brought with me my friend, the MMA detective Mike Davis, and together we will preserve the history and hear some great stories from the world in the era of the no-holds-barred. Thank you and enjoy.
Welcome back to the MMA History Podcast. I am Joey Venti. I'm with the host of the show, Mike Davis. He is the MMA detective. I am Herb Dean's dog sitter, and we have a special episode for you today. We're joined once again with famed trainer from the pit, John Hackleman, and our special guest of the evening is none other than former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Chuck the Iceman Liddell. Chuck, thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
Legendary trainer, John Hackleman, also in the room. John, really appreciate this. Our second time with you. So, Chuck, I mean, we met in Denver. I don't know if you recall or not. We exchanged phone numbers there. And we kind of do deep dives on people's careers, especially their earlier portions of it. Why don't we start from the beginning? How did you meet John Hackleman?
Oh, we're going way back. I got called into an old karate school I went to that I used to, my original karate style, Koi-Kon, had a school they had in Slow, but I hadn't been there in a long time. They called me in because they had a black belt coming in to spar that night from somewhere else. And I came in and it was John. And we did like some point sparring stuff and some wall training stuff, some different stuff. And it was kind of funny afterwards. I get there in the office. I'll go, "No, man, you kicked his ass." I'm like, "What fight were you watching?" Like, because I was young, but I used to, like, everywhere I went. I never had any challenge anybody challenge me anywhere. I had no problems with people, and but and I went in the back and I would talk to John. He's like, "Yeah, hey, if you ever want to come train," he handed me his card. Now, coincidentally, I was going out that week. Right after that, I was going out to Vegas, go watch my friend Alfie Alcaraz fight. And he was fighting in kickboxing. And I went to his weigh-in, and Nick, his trainer, wouldn't hit one kick. Nick came up to me and goes, "Hey, Alfie says you're pretty tough. You want to fight tomorrow night?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." And they went, and the commission asked, they were going to weigh me in, and then the commission asked like how many fights I had. I said none. I guess the guy was like 15-0 or 15-1 or something. And they're like, no, they say, "Come on, Nick. We're not letting you just throw some guy in there." But he noticed I was disappointed. So he's like, "Why don't you go home and train and come and I'll get you my next fight." And, I'm driving home from Vegas, and I remembered in my pocket, I had that card, and the card said world champion kickboxer on it. I'm like, "Hey, I go train with this guy." So I called him up and practice phone. I'm like, "Hey," he's like, "Yeah, come on up. Let's go. Let's train." So I got to this. We went up to an old pit. We went up the old top, and then we went up there, and it was just a, I think 800 square foot building, with a couple bags in it and stuff up there. And then we did boxing sparring. Like he said, "Let's just spar. Let's we're gonna box." So boxing was on it. I'd never done just hands before in my life. I'd always done karate, so it was always hands and feet. But whatever, we're gonna box, okay? He proceeded to give me a beating for the next 19 minutes. I think was the unofficial time by Jesus Sanchez. Was the guy was with him, was there watching. He's like, "All right, stop, guys. I can't watch you beat him up anymore." So yeah, it was, and then afterwards, you were leaving. He said, "Oh, wait, you coming back tomorrow?" And it was starting to rain, right? And I drove up on my motorcycle. I drove up there on my motorcycle, and he's like, "You come back tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." He said, okay, take my truck. I said, no, it's all right. I'm fine. He said, no, push your bike in the car and you come back tomorrow, right? Yeah, take my truck. Throw me the keys. It's a brand new truck. I drove it home and drove it back the next day to go train. So and then trained there until we probably almost I was up there almost every day until we had our own gyms opened up.
John, what was your first impression of Chuck?
Uh, I remember I told my dad because his instructor had called me and challenged me to a fight, and that's why I went there, and that's why he brought Chuck in. But he was saying I was going to fight him, the instructor. I didn't know, I didn't know Chuck. This is way before Chuck's career. So I get there, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, well, I can't really fight you, So you're going to go with one of my students." And so I saw out there, and it was Chuck, and I was like, "It's a Mohawk. What?" I just remember my dad, like, "What's Mohawk? Okay, all right, I'm gonna go." But he was very nice, and we're cordial, and we seemed to get along better than me and his instructor did. And I gave my card before I left, and just said, if you ever really want to learn, the sport part of it or whatever, and give me a call. And I was telling my dad on the way home because I brought my dad out with me, and I said he's not calling, he's not gonna come. And a day or two later, he shows up with his Honda 125 or 125, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was a Honda. It's like a little one, and it's like, yeah, it was raining really hard that day, and we live out in the boonies, and we live on some acreage out there, and it was like raining. I was like, and I was a single dad living in the house there with my, and I worked full time as a registered nurse in the prison, and so I decided, hey, bro, take my car or truck, and you can't ride in the rain. And I knew he was gonna come back. The first time I trained with him, I thought I remember thinking, oh shit, and this guy's tough. It wasn't the tough. I just knew there was something. There's something happening with this guy, Chuck. I'm talking about Chuck. Um, Maybe the fact that he had to fight the gay urges he's had his whole life. I don't know what it is.
Possible.
I do not know. No, but I knew from the beginning, like I knew he was tough. I didn't know, skill wise, I didn't have a read on it, just knew he was really tough. But I knew there was something there's something big. Like he's gonna
Cool.
like he just walked into the room and it's bang, boom. He go down, wherever we went, it was like boom. And I was like, there's gonna be because there's people that are similar to Chuck when it comes to everything else. But there's something about Chuck when they announced his name, at the fights. I've never heard that before or since. I mean, when they were announcing Chuck out, I mean, or if there's a autograph line, you could have all the top guys. They're all champions. They're all the same, but Chuck's line is like
Yeah.
5 times longer. It's like because he had that whatever it was, and he's had that since he was. I mean, he was in college. There was that going on. So that's what I thought more than anything else, and just really tough. And he was fun to work out with, and we had a hardcore tough gym, and yeah, so that's what I thought of him.
How old was Chuck when you met him?
3. No, he's like 20, 21, I think.
So he'd already had his college wrestling career by then. That's my question.
Yeah, I think it was like 21.
Okay.
So Chuck,
He was legal. He was legal.
He was legal.
I just finished college wrestling.
So Chuck, like everybody's kind of got that moment where they discover the UFC and mixed martial arts, and they go, wherever my path, my life was going in, it has now just changed the direction. When was that for you?
Well, honestly, right before I went into the UFC, and actually, me and John were talking about, hey, I'm not going to go fight. We're not gonna start making more money. I think I gotta go get a real job finally. I didn't want to because I loved what I was doing. I love fighting, kickboxing, and hanging out with everybody and bartending. I had a college degree, and my grandma was getting on me about getting a real job, and so I was like thinking about getting it. And that's when actually Nick One Kick again asked me. He's like, "Hey man, Alfie says you're a pretty good wrestler. You want to do a mixed fight?" So I wound up doing a mixed fight out in Vegas, like an open hand slap fight. Kicked the guy in the head, knocked him out. And some guy in the stands goes, "Hey man, you want to fight in the UFC?" Now we've been talking about the UFC for a long time. Like my friends are like, "Hey man, you're a wrestler, a good kickboxer. You should fight in the UFC." And I was like, I would. I just don't know how to get in. I didn't know what. How do I get in the fight UFC? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then when I started fighting with and then that kind of excited got me back into like, okay, man, I really like this. Let's mix everything together. Let's go. So
Okay,
back fired up and give it another try. I was just trying to keep from getting a real job. Come on.
how many fights did you have before? Like your first fight on record is UFC 17. Noe Hernandez. You had a few prior to that, though.
No, I had one open hand slap fight in Vegas where I kicked the guy in the head. Other than that, I had kickboxing matches, but not MMA. That was it. UFC. I opened that.
But I also know you used to go over to the Kaja's Cage Combat, like the new breed tournaments and stuff like that.
I was at all those with my guys at my gym. All my guys were fighting at those. I thought I did fight after that. I fought that one. I didn't want to. It was like Ventura at some.
Is that neutral grounds?
Maybe I don't know.
Neutral grounds, not new breed. Neutral grounds. Yeah.
That was one it was, but it wasn't for much, and it was funny. Like the guy the guy insisted that we we're able to close our hands, and we didn't have to do open hand. Like to fight me, he wouldn't fight me unless we could do open hand, closed hand. I'm like, okay, perfect, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't think I'm asking. I mean,
that was a mistake.
Yeah, he fucked up.
I bet he's still today.
They said, "Oh, he weighed in before you got here," and I'm like, I one of his buddies goes, "Did he weigh in? Did he weigh under 200? It was 199 back then. Did he weigh in under 200?" He goes, "That guy hasn't been under 200 since 8th grade." He was a pudgy, like bigger. Like I'm like, come on. Well, like did not make weight, but he doesn't lie to me. I'm gonna fight. I'm here. I'm gonna fight anyway.
So, like you guys have talked about a team prior to getting to the UFC. Eric Schwartz is one of those names that kind of jumps off the radar. Your training partner.
Yeah.
I mean, a collegiate standout wrestler. He's like 1-0 in MMA. His only win is against Glover Teixeira. Is he 2-0?
He's 2 or 3.
2 or 3-0? Okay. Yeah, Glover Teixeira.
I'm going to think there's 3, but I would definitely remember another one where he stopped the guy.
There's at least 2. I mean, I know
he knocked him. He had 2 stoppages, and then he just didn't want to go. He just didn't like it anymore.
He just didn't want to compete anymore. He was just done competing. He kind of burned out in college wrestling too. But it was just kind of one of those things. He was done competing. He was over it. He liked training. He liked being. Every time I fought, he'd show up, train with me. But he just didn't want. He didn't want to be. He didn't want to fight anymore. Just didn't want to compete anymore.
He's still here. He's still in this town. He owns a bunch of restaurant bars.
Yeah, I did like a crazy deep dive on him. I'm like, he's the guy in the bar going, "Yeah, that world champion, I beat him. Oh yeah, the other world champion is my sparring partner. Yeah, no, I hung with him." It's just like everyone's got to think he's just full of it. You know what I mean? It's like it's true.
Yeah, until he hits him.
Yeah.
Gan McGee, remember Gan McGee?
Yeah.
You know what? I just got a call to get when they get a job and they want to get references. So like he listed me as a reference. He's a sheriff now, deputy.
Really?
Yeah. Because the sheriff of our county is one of our black belts. He's one of our students, me and Chuck, and he used to be Chuck's sparring partner. Now he's the mayor, or he's the sheriff of our county, And Gan McGee, 6'11",
Yeah.
guy who fought for the UFC title, right? Didn't he fight Tim Sylvia or something?
Yes, he did.
I don't know. I was there, but I don't remember. But yeah, but he has two beautiful kids, and his wife's a nurse, and he works as a guard at the county jail.
That's wild.
It's a scary guard.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
I mean, those uniforms must be expensive too. I mean, you're not buying those off the rack. All right. So May 15th, 1998, UFC 17th, UFC 17, Noe Hernandez is your opponent. Going into this, I think a lot of people didn't know who Noe was. I mean, he was like a quarterfinalist for the National Gold Glove tournament. And that guy could punch.
Yeah, I was really mad at myself for that fight because I knew he knocked two guys out with overhand right, in like 10 seconds, like something like that. And
How's that one of them?
he hit me in the overhand right. Like, damn it! I wasn't supposed to let him do that big China. But that was an interesting. I remember in the back, Freddie came up to me. He found out when I was because we went to weigh-ins. Now this was back in the day. It was funny. So we go to weigh-in, right? I've been wrestling my whole life. Since high school and college. And we go into weigh-in, and they say, and we go in, and it's a bathroom scale. Now, I'm not talking about a digital bathroom scale. I'm talking about a bathroom scale with one of the little needles on it. And we're sitting there, and Noe gets on, and I guess he's 2 pounds over. They go, and I wasn't watching, but I got on him anyway. They go, and I think it was big. It might have been Big John. One of the guys there was like
John Peretti?
I don't know. I'm not sure who. It might have been Big John that said it, but one of the whoever was doing the weigh-ins goes to me. Hey, hey man, he's a little over. Is that okay? I'm on that scale. Do you want to put him back on so I can show him how to get on? Like, are you kidding me? On a bathroom scale? I was like laughing. I wish he told me we were using a bathroom scale. I wouldn't have cut weight. Like, you can move those. You have to move
Yeah.
them. So I was just laughing. But I said I wrestled in college. Man, on that scale, forget about it. So they found out they thought I was a kickboxer. So when I was in the back room, like Freddie actually came in my room. Hey man, if you want to come back, you better stay on your feet. He didn't want me to wrestle him.
Who said this to you?
John Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he also ask you to shave your mohawk?
That was after he said it's played out. You gotta get rid of that mohawk. Yeah, he was hey, it was what it was. He's funny.
So at the time you're 18-4 in kickboxing, you're listed as self-trained, and Charlie Anzalone is your manager. How does that happen?
He was in the crowd at that mixed fight, and he said he could get me in the UFC. I said okay, yeah, sure. That was like a 2-fight deal, and that was it. I thank you for reminding me his name. I always ask me, I forgot the guy's name. I forgot his name.
So Anzalone landed it for you. There was also like rumors between him and Art Davey. Like they had like there was some kickbacks happening there.
I'm sure there was, and they thought they were gonna probably feed me to Noe. He was one of their buddies. Like they were give me a striker for him to go out and strike with.
Now, did Anzalone represent you when you went to Brazil also?
Yeah, that was the second fight.
Oh wow,
he did good. He did good. Yeah, he did. He got you good fights.
Yeah. So Noe was a 2-time Michigan Gold Glove champion, and dude, John, did you know that like Chuck? I mean, obviously you guys trained, but Noe could hit, and this is when we discovered Chuck was a really good nail. Because I think 90% of that locker room, with the type of punches that you took, Chuck, I think 90% of that locker room would have went to sleep. John, did that surprise you?
That he didn't go to sleep?
Wow, dude, he got hit hard by Noe. Like there's like several times in that fight where I was shocked that Chuck took that punch.
Yeah, Chuck, that was, I mean, that's one of, between heart and chin, you can control the heart, but you can't control the chin. You either have one, you don't. And, that was one of Chuck's biggest assets was he could just go, I'll trade you. And he always came up on head because no matter how hard the guy hit, he's not, his chin stood up,
That's yeah. It did. And Chuck, like you're kind of known for never shooting for a takedown. You shot against Noe a few times.
Well, back in the day, I think I got away from mixing up as much as I should have, because I kind of put that back in later. But I like mixing it up, like with guys that are just, I know they're strikers, just to shoot on them and make them. And if you're fighting a guy that's a striker, and even if you just take him down a couple times, it makes him second think what they're doing. It slows them down a little bit.
He drops their hands too. Yeah.
And it's just like when with Kane fought Junior Dos Santos the second time. Well, he comes out the first time, tries to just stand with it, gets you let the comfortable. It's just like Alistair Overeem. Like when I fought Alistair, if I let Alistair get comfortable kickboxing right away, it might have been a different fight. But I took him down right away fight, and then hit him a few times, then got up and struggled. Because now he's not sure what I'm going to do. That gives me that little edge.
So we fought Sergio Batarelli, or you fought for Sergio Batarelli at IVC 6, August 23rd, 1998. What was your opinion of him as a promoter?
He seemed cool to me. I mean, I didn't really have an opinion of him. It was a cool show. I got a fair decision. When I went down and fought 30-minute fight against a local guy and got a fair decision. Half the crowd, if not more, was had shootbox shirts on. There's a shootbox fighter, So
well, you're saying local guy. It's Jose Pele Landi.
No, but I mean he was a hotel guy.
Okay. You got a guy that beat Pat Miletich when Pat was the world champion. Like Pele Landi
and Matt Hughes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's a tough kid. Yeah. It's funny
Tough
with
kid.
that. This guy goes. He threw a shoulder at me in the locker room on the way to go weigh at the weigh-in. So I'm like, look at him. I'm like, look, man, I don't speak Portuguese, but we get paid tomorrow night. Tomorrow. Like, come on, I don't want to fight you right now. Like, why? There's no one around. Like, you're not going to intimidate me. No, it's like, I'm not sorry. But
let me kind of put this in a proper context. 3 fights after this, he beats Pat Miletich when Pat Miletich is the UFC world champion. That's your second fight.
He was already a star. He was in IVC. He was like the big dog.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it was fun. But maybe I was just young. I didn't know much. I didn't. Okay, this guy I'm fighting. Okay, great. I didn't think about it.
So, John, you're at this point, like Chuck is still green in regards to the fight game. Obviously, he's a gamer, but there's politics kind of around him that he might not be aware of. You walk into Landi's hometown and beat him on a decision. That's like, did that kind of surprise you?
I wouldn't. I mean, if you saw the fight, it wouldn't. But yeah, I don't think. I think the Brazilians are a different kind of fan, and they see. I mean, they probably they love Chuck too. I mean, Brazilians love Chuck, but so I would see that you have 2 icons, fighting each other. Really, one happens to be from Brazil, and it's the fight's in Brazil, but let's not forget Chuck. I mean, Chuck was an icon before he was, before he reached his icon status. You know what I mean? Because he had that. So I think if anybody that the Brazilians would respect that and acknowledge that, when obviously they did, right? Because if you see the decision, Chuck won, so they gave it to Chuck.
A 30-minute fight gives you time to win a crowd.
Yeah.
It gives you time. It gives you time to watch. Hey man, this guy's tough.
Yeah.
You can win a crowd like, oh man, this guy's been swinging nonstop for 30 minutes. This is crazy.
And this is the event where Gary Goodrich reached into the pants of another fighter and squeezed his balls to get a submission.
The Pedro.
So there's no rules. Like there's headbutts, there's soccer kicks to the head, and you're fighting a jukebox guy.
And
That's the bread and butter.
Balls?
Gary Goodrich.
By the way, and then they had that the net was awesome. It ended the fight. I don't know if you saw it, but ended the fight. It ended with him. I am stuffed underneath that net from the arm rope to the edge. And I'm punching him through the net. I mean, I'm like, okay, I can stop this. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, but Batarelli, to his credit, when Gary Goodrich reached down that guy's pants, you can see him mouth to the other corner. It's not against the rules. He can do that. It's okay. So like it was, I mean, it was dangerous, but it was a level playing field for everybody. So Chuck, you're college educated at this point. Grandma wants you to get a job and you're going to Brazil fighting no holds barred fights. Does this go over well, or do you kind of keep this from everybody?
Everybody was fine. Like thing is, my mom's was always like, "Hey, I want you to do what makes you happy." So this is what makes you happy. Go do it, son. So I always had the support. My grandma was always the crotchety one. She'd always be like, "Hey, what you need to go get your real job." She just wanted to brag to people that I was like, be accountant working somewhere. So
she'd lie and say you were in the office. You're actually in the gym
working on taxes.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody. Wow. Yeah, and in your third fight, I mean, your beginning career, your third fight's Jeremy Horn, UFC 19, March 5th, 1999. So you've been to two countries. You fought Noe Hernandez, quarterfinalist, Golden Glove guy. Pele Landi, future, like one of the top 5 in the world at the time. And now you got Jeremy Horn. Like, and there's 3 distinct different styles there.
Yeah, and the thing with that, I had him beat. I mean, and there was 10 seconds left, and and honestly, I think I would have got out of that arm triangle if there wasn't only 10 seconds left, because I really just kind of sat there and went, okay, I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm not really just struggling getting out. There might be a 3 because they had a 3-minute overtime. So I'm just like, they would probably do. They're probably gonna make us do the overtime. So I'm like, okay, I'll just sit here and wait, and then it just kind of got tighter and tighter. Although I will still go back to that, I'll say it forever. Big John says the reason he stopped it was because I went out before the bell. And so my question was to him, well, then why didn't you stop it? Go to stop it before the bell.
He missed it. Dude, I thought you went out prior to that. Like there's somebody.
But that's what he said. You went out prior, but I say I made the bell. Because you can lose your conscience after. So I mean, but if I went out, if you didn't see it, Tom, and I saw one fight recently where they said, oh no, they went out, but it was after the bell, so it doesn't count, and they let him actually continue on. Did you see that fight? The name of who was fighting, but one of the UFCs, and I was like, we gotta see, I could continue, but it is what it is. I mean, I didn't know what it was. Like at that point in my career, I didn't know. I don't know an arm triangle. I didn't think he had anything. I thought he was just holding on to my head. I didn't know he had an arm triangle. I didn't know what that was. I mean,
John, you're kind of like a psychologist.
Been doing Jiu Jitsu for like 6 months. So.
So John Hackleman, you're one of those guys that's kind of like a sports psychologist. Your fighter. Chuck takes his first loss. Were you concerned maybe about him in his career at this point?
No.
That's one of the things. I was winning the fight, and then he caught me in a submission. I was kind of like, okay, I screwed up. What do you do?
That was the beginning. Yeah, that was the beginning, and Chuck's not
dominated or something. It's not a.
Yeah, he was winning that fight, and it just, I mean, and how people respond to it, like as a trainer, then you gotta like, do you go into, psychology mode or what? But yeah, Chuck was like, shit, fuck. It was like, I knew that was gonna just roll right off his shoulder, and it did, right? I mean, so yeah,
sometimes
it didn't worry me.
Sometimes people go unconscious and they freak out, and then that's it. It's happened to a couple Hammer House guys. Yeah. Neutral grounds. That's your next fight. Kenneth Williams, March 31st, 1999. After this fight, Kenneth takes 2 years off. He decides to make a comeback, and his opponent is Rampage Jackson.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, that was the guy who was making the bright choice. I think that was the bright choice of wanting to go very closed fist instead of open hands.
I think there's a series of bad decisions happening in that guy's life, to be honest.
Was that a head kick?
No,
It was a standing rear naked choke.
Yeah, I was a standing rear choke. Yeah.
Which one? Oh, I'm thinking of the different one then.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts of the neutral grounds events? I know you were at quite a few of them. Joe Rogan used to go to them as well.
I mean, they were cool. I mean, they're a place for my guys to fight at. Mostly open hand striking, kind of like Pancras rules. You know, they're a pretty good show. I mean, it was. I mean, we had they're playing the guys to get beginning fights. You know.
Yeah, and Paul Jones, we've actually had him on. He's got a career that's phenomenal. Like he's a stud wrestler, doesn't get intimidated, mentally sound. He's got a mission, completes it. I've watched almost all of his fights, and your fight with him that ends in a KO at 353. I mean, he's 18-0-1 coming into this. You haven't, other than Williams, you're fighting like top 10 in the world, arguably every single time out there.
Well, yeah, and actually that fight, I split my eye right before leaving for that fight. We had to take the stitches out the day before, the day before they're supposed to come out, so I wouldn't have them for weigh-ins. That was funny. Forgot about that.
Yeah, right around this time, he actually started working with Tito Ortiz as well.
What?
Tito Ortiz,
he was the one that cut me.
Really?
We were rolling, and he didn't do it on purpose, just slip through it, just slip. But yeah, I'd gone down to help him with because he met Scott Adams, and Scott had caught him in a bunch of leg locks, and so Scott was going to go down and help him out because he's going to fight Frank Shamrock, and so he wanted to learn how to defend the leg locks and stuff. And Scott was helping him out, and Scott's like, "Well, why don't I bring Chuck down?" That's how I met Tito. So I went down to help him spar. And Chuck could spar with you. So I used to work with. That's how I started working in the first place.
John, what was your opinion of Tito Ortiz, a young Tito Ortiz at this time?
I didn't really know a young except for at Chuck's fight. I didn't because I wasn't in that. That was with the Scott Adams. I wasn't involved with. I met him, but I didn't really know him very well. He seemed like a nice enough kid, but I didn't know him very well.
Yeah, it was like him, Eddie Ruiz. He hung out with a tough crowd. John Lober was another guy he hung out with.
Yeah.
And Gabbett?
He had a good little group. Was it Rob McCullum? Was he one of his guys?
He was a Huntington Beach guy.
Yeah, later on.
And then there was that other guy that which is the other guys? He fought in the UFC.
Chemo.
Not Chemo.
Not
littler
Tiki?
guy. I think he was maybe 145, 155.
I think that's probably Eddie Ruiz.
No.
He looks like he's been to prison a few times. That's Eddie.
Yeah, this guy did a lot with Tap Out, I know. I can't remember. But it was like a nice guy. Then they got the Chuck and Tito got the Tito said something and he was rude, and so then all of a sudden Chuck didn't like him. And I remember when they fought, it's like that was one of two of the only fights I've seen where Chuck seemed like he was really wanting to hurt the guy, and I was like, oh shit, he was a whole different vibe in the training camp, because he didn't like Tito. He's like, and he likes everyone. I mean, he fought Randy, and they were like I think they went out to breakfast the next day and shit. It was like they were like most of the guys he fought, it was business as usual, and but with Tito, man, I don't know. So I don't. It brought some out of Chuck, that's for sure.
Chuck, like you started rolling with Tito Ortiz. Is this okay? You had Charlie Anzalone as your manager for the first two fights. He does well by you, getting you to the UFC, get you to Brazil. You guys split. Was it a financial thing? What was the issue with Charlie?
He just kind of disappeared. Like he was. I mean, I had to pressure him to get me the second fight before the end of the year. Like I'm like, I'm dude, I want to fight again. Like am I fighting or what? You know. So I had to keep after him, and then just kind of moved on.
Who was this when you met Dana White after this?
Oh, I was kind of with Adam manager for a little bit, and then I met Dana.
Was that through Tito or did you meet Tito?
Well, it was through Wayne Harriman was a friend of Tito's and I knew him on Vegas, and he's the guy that suggested that because he used to watch me and Tito train together, and like look, you got Tito, you're managing Tito, you might want to manage Chuck too, because Dana was managing Tito. Because he was watching me because I used to beat up Dana. I used to beat up Tito and I beat him in straight wrestling match. Styles makes fights. I could out wrestle him. I would out wrestle him. I'd beat him. I'd take him down a lot more than he'd take me down. I think he had 2 takedowns the whole time we trained together. But and I was able to, and he couldn't stay on top. And that's why he didn't want to fight me. He couldn't stay on top of me when we were doing just wrestling, just jiu-jitsu. Couldn't stay on top of me. I get out from underneath him. And he definitely didn't want to strike with me.
Yeah, he had cardio issues too. He'd hit a cardio wall, and he couldn't stay on top of you. He's pushing the gas on that. So Paul Jones comes from the Steve Nelson, Texas region. He's 100%. Like at this time where Paul Jones was fighting, they were outdrawing the live attendance for the UFC. They didn't have the pay-per-view, but they had a huge, it was 10, 15,000 people every single fight. And he's the number one guy from that organization. You stop him in the first round. Steve Heath with the IFC is next. Steve also, tough dude. I mean, doesn't have the credentials as your past opponents, but Steve Heath's no joke.
Yeah, I give him credit too, like because I beat him and I don't know why I thought he could beat me at that, but at fighting, I beat him in a submission match, the only submission match I think I ever did, and I beat him in that, and so I'm like, why do you want to fight me? Like, but they wanted to fight, and we, I think we fought at 195 or something. We got we had a catch weight. It was, I guess, a little bit lighter than what we normally fought at. And I actually, in that fight, that was the time I cut. They had a day of weigh-in for me.
Oh,
Cut 19 and a half pounds for that fight.
yeah, you got him with a head kick.
Normally do that, but like they moved. Like I don't know if you remember, John. They moved the fight like 3 weeks, right? And we had planned a Hawaii trip for the whole team. Like in the middle, we didn't have money to just eat the trip, so this is what we're going to be together anyway. So we went to Hawaii. We trained in Hawaii for like a week, and during that week, I was supposed to lose about 5 more pounds. But I like spam masubis and locomocos, so losing 5 more pounds. I've gained 5 more pounds. So I came back and when I got there to I started cutting the night before. I just cut 19.5 pounds a day of weigh-in. They pissed me off. Yeah, I was ready to make weight at 11. They made me wait till 12 because they said I made weight, and I was actually cramping warming up. I was a little nervous about that going into the fight, but it turned out okay.
Yeah, you got with a head kick. So where were you learning jiu-jitsu at?
JSEC was John Lewis.
John Lewis. Yeah. So Herb Dean, arguably the most prolific referee in the entire sport. You actually refereed Herb Dean's grappling match.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I'm like,
long time.
They were like, wait, Chuck Liddell's a jiu-jitsu ref? And he's like, he took like, wait a minute. Dude, Chuck Liddell. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was.
That was fun time. That was a lot of fun times back then. We did all that, the jiu-jitsu matches, the jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff, all the guys, and
John Hackleman, a lot of coaches, they don't like their fighters leaving the gym to go and have experiences at other places. It's almost kind of like a rite of passage for you with your guys to allow them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have certain strengths and
I remember that he used to take me when I had fights coming up to go. He go me for outside sparring somewhere. He waits till I drop somebody. And okay, we're done. All right, see you later. We'll make sure Chuck's ready. Like okay. Didn't quite need that. Didn't need that later on, but like I think at the beginning, I just had to. He had to. I'd have that confidence. I you go out there and knock someone out.
So, John, why were you so confident that your guys? Because I mean, it happens everywhere that the guys just kind of get lured into other gyms. Like they always kind of came back to you.
yeah, but they're you know they're gaining stuff from them, and I knew, if there's somebody I didn't like, look, then it would be one thing. But I mean, I knew most of these guys and I liked them, and I had my thing. I mean, we don't have a American Top Team like 125,000 square foot gym with, all that. We have I had a mom and pop martial arts school, 1,000 square feet in my backyard, and then I opened a mom and pop gym in the little town on Main Street of Arroyo Grande, California. So it's not like, uh, it's not a, I knew I couldn't accommodate all the things that some of the guys need, everything. So I'm just kind of I don't know what I was, the middleman or the whatever. I was a whatever trainer. I don't know what you would call it, but I was kind of this and this. I was a pretty good strategizer for everything, even though I wasn't an experienced wrestler or jiu-jitsu guy. I kind of knew how to get the punch in by avoiding this and get up from the bottom and then knock them out. And I wanted them to learn other stuff too. So, I think John Lewis, of course, how can you say no?
Oh yeah,
One kick Nick. I mean, he's still a phenom right now,
still.
training guys like he was fucking 20. So yeah, so I had good guys to help my guys, and then my guys would teach me stuff. I mean, I learned more about MMA, uh, and being able to teach it and train it and stuff like that from Chuck than he did from me. So to be honest, I was in his corner giving him water and telling him how to kick the guy, which kick to use. That's pretty much all I did. He did the rest. I was just, so
Yeah, but
so
these
that
other, but you're coming
I give him water in between rounds.
talent, but you're going into the gym with some Mustang horses, and the other gym coaches either they're spitting game at him, trying to have him come over, or they respect you guys enough to where they're like, "Oh no, man, it's just a visit. Leave it alone." Chuck, were the other coaches kind of predatory when you'd go over there, trying to get you to?
We were working as a team. I mean, everybody from big, one kick Nick. I never felt I didn't feel ever like he was
Yeah.
gonna try to steal. I thought he was helping me work with my guy, and I was getting most of the credit. Or we had Ricardo Laborio. He American Top Team. We were really close. They sent us guys over to spar with Chuck, to help me. So, American, kickboxing with Zinkin, those guys sent guys down to help me. So, I mean, I was kind of like, just like, okay, you go there, let's do this, let's go push a wheelbarrow. Now here's some water. So I had kind of hit him harder. That's something I said a lot in training, hit him again, finish with a left hook. But the guys out there like Chuck and even Glover, I mean, they were very good students, but they were also my teachers in a lot of way too. So it took a village, and between AT, American Top Team, AKA, and one kick Nick and John Lewis. I mean,
It's
it
an
took
all-star
them
team. It's an
and
all-star
me
team. Yeah, it's an
to
all-star
make
team.
Chuck, to turn out Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, to what he became. I just got to walk out with him all the time.
Chuck, were the other coaches, were they ever predatory towards you, trying to get you to?
I don't think they would be anyway. Like it just, I mean, I think they knew. It didn't matter. Like they had no chance.
That's
Let
cool.
me just say, loyalty is not just a fucking tattoo with Chuck. Chuck with Chuck, the word loyalty, it's beyond anyone that you can imagine. So, I mean, yeah.
See, but you say that about Chuck, and I get that with a one-off individual. Glover Teixeira had visa issues,
Yeah.
was gone for 3 years, and then comes back and he's right back at your gym. It's like a son coming home.
He surprised me. He surprised me. If you see the video, he surprised me. It like it was like they planned it, and he came in and somebody was at the door and he was there. Yeah.
Chuck, how were your sparring sessions with Glover?
Good. I mean, he was always great. He's one of those guys who'd show up, anytime you wanted to train, anytime I needed somebody. Oh, we need someone tonight at 9. Let's go. Okay, yeah, he'd be right there. Always trying to learn, always working with you. And just a great training partner. Like great to work with.
When he had his visa issues, from what I gather, he was told that it'd be like a 90-day turnaround, and it turned out to be a 3-year nightmare. Were you surprised that he came back, or did you think he was just going to be?
I knew he'd come back. I was always hoping he'd come back. I was just glad. I was really glad when he got the title because I thought he was in his prime when he left. He was just like ready to go. Like he just has a couple big wins and like he was ready to go. It just sucked.
John, you've had 2 world champions. Like lightning struck with you twice between Glover and Chuck
in the same weight division.
In the same weight division.
Yeah, no, it's weird. They were like, to be honest, they were like big brother, little brother. I mean, if you see them too, it's like me and Chuck. We're not really friends, but we're like family. It's a whole different demographic, or logistics or some dynamics, whatever. It's different. And him and Glover are a lot. Instead of friends, they're like big brother, little brother. If you watch them together back in those days, or even now, I mean, it's like Chuck's his big brother and he's, Glover's his little brother. And it looked like that when they were sparring. It looked like that when we go out to eat. It looked like that all the time. And you could tell that wasn't something that was just because they were on the same team. Those two are family, and it was pretty cool to be that they let me be a part of all that, and walking Glover out for his title fight, that was pretty impressive, and hearing, Chuck with I think one of the biggest things that pounds into I remember the most with Chuck being in the whole in the middle of it was just standing there when we're ready to walk out and hearing them say his name, and it was just you couldn't believe it. It was like we were in my backyard in the little gym back there hitting the bag not that long ago. Now it's deafening. I mean, I've never heard that. I've been to a bunch of fights. I've never heard that kind of cheering when they called somebody, when they called the Iceman, that it would explode. And I was like, what is going? This is like weird. And so that was kind of crazy.
Chuck, did that ever phase you listening to that wall of sound?
It fazed me. I couldn't even imagine Mr. Iceman. It like I was more nervous than him, and I would go nuts hearing that. He was just like slapping everybody's hands, and I was like,
I enjoyed walking out. I mean, that was cool. I mean, it was deafening walking out. It was so loud. Like, wow, this is kind of cool. These people. As soon as I step in the ring, I'm back to let's go. Everything's just shut. That shuts out.
Okay, so I have the privilege of sitting ringside for the BKFCs, and so at our really big events, whenever there's like a crazy knockout, the sound that comes down on you, it goes through your body. Did you just tune all of that out because you're so hyper focused, or
Yeah, I didn't really notice it when I was fighting. No.
I mean, okay, your mentality, you can really only see the lower bowl. Is that like, oh, it's just a small MMA event? Is that your mentality, or do you not even you don't
Really,
even
I just see the guy in front of me.
you don't even give a shit? Okay, yeah.
Maybe it's
December.
like other way, and I would when I'm
It's that wrestler mentality. Uh, December 16, 2000, UFC 29 in Japan. You fight Jeff Monson. Jeff Monson is with Team Quest. He's got Matt Hume in his corner. Started with Raw. It's his first fight at 200 pounds. You got Scott Adams in your corner.
yeah.
What do you remember about that fight?
Oh, I just remember he was letting me keep me kick the leg. And I was just like, oh, you want to let me kick you in the leg? Okay, I'm gonna keep doing it. I just kept kicking him and kicking him, and I remember like he thought I broke his leg. I think he said afterwards, but yeah, I give credit because I keep kicking that leg to try to get him to bite on it so I could kick him in the head, but he just wouldn't keep his hands down.
Yeah, you Pedro Hazard on. Yeah, you got his legs. He was also an ADCC champion at this time, standout wrestler. This is actually a look of a fighter that you hadn't seen yet. A super high end jiu-jitsu guy with credentials, super high end wrestler. And Matt Hume is a brilliant tactician as well when it comes to strategy.
100% good guy, yeah. But it was and it's right. I want to beat him. Was like I give him credit though. Like we had some funny weight things because we were supposed to fight in Atlantic City, and he didn't pass his physical or something. They moved that fight a month later, right?
It was his first fight at 200 pounds.
Yeah,
Might be his only.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There, and he was, and we came down. We checked our weight in Atlantic City. Both of us all can. And he was like 2 pounds. I was like 2 pounds under. He's a 1 pound under. So we're drinking a little bit of water, right? Because we still got a few minutes before we weigh in. As we've got a pound to go. They come in and they walk in and they move that scale out and bring in a new scale. And now I'm a pound over, and he's like, I'm a pound over, or I was a pound over, he was a pound over, 2 pounds or whatever. And then they say, well, you guys gonna go cut the weight. So we both go back up to our room, and I think it was John McCarthy comes to my room and says, hey man, he says he's not gonna make the weight. Do you are you okay with going up weight for this fight? And I'm like, dude, we both made weight. We're fine. He's good. I'm good. If you're good, we're good. And so we were gonna fight it. Thing. And then so when we were in Japan, someone broke the scale. They were jumping on the scale, broke the scale we were using.
I'll tell you who it was.
With cutting weight, he came and told me. He actually came and told me, hey man,
It was him. Yeah.
We broke the scale.
It was him and Dennis Hallman.
It was like, all right, cool. Thanks. At least at least I don't finish cutting weight. So if you're like, the scale you can move it like 5 kilograms by the way you were leaning on it.
Yeah. It was him and Jeff Monson and Dennis Hallman. They broke the scale. Yeah.
Sounds like them.
Yeah.
The scale we're going to be using. So at least I didn't have to cut weight. I didn't have to cut weight too. So.
At UFC 31, you fought Kevin Randleman. Kevin Randleman was a former heavyweight world champion at this time, 2-time national wrestling champion, could have been 3-time national wrestling champion, but was just bored with the sport and dropped out his senior year of college. Like, Kevin was a freak. Were you concerned fighting him?
No, I actually asked for him because he was coming down from heavyweight. I want him. I told Dan, I want to fight him. And so, but if you fight him, if you win, you're gonna have to fight Tito. I said, I'm willing to fight Tito. I don't care. I want the title. If Tito's got it, I'm gonna go fight him. So I'm like, okay. So because he was next up for he was the next. He's doing one fight at 205, and they're gonna go fight for the title. And so I was it. And I thought I could. I mean, I was ready for him. I thought, you know, I knew he was a better wrestler than me, but he had still had to get past me punching him, and if he took me down, I knew I was still really good at getting up.
Yeah, dude. Randleman was a savage. You knocked him out at 118. Your post fight comment was something.
Funny story. Funny story. So I was in after I went to fought Guy Metzger, right?
It's right after.
And 3 weeks later, it was 3 weeks later, because they asked me. Long story, but anyway, so I went to fight him in Japan. And after the fight, I was catching a ride back to the airport, and Randleman was on the same shuttle. So, hey man, I was really bummed out, but you're pretty tough. I was pretty bummed out you knocked me out, but you're pretty tough. Because how that I knocked out Guy Metzger, I guess I was tough. He thought I just got lucky and turned over.
That was a tough fight. That wasn't a walkover, the Guy Metzger fight.
No.
You know what? Let me at the end of Randleman, your post fight quote was interesting. It says, "I'm working with John Hackleman again." Did you guys have like a little split?
I think we just didn't.
Or was it just one of those post fight things where
I think we were both doing.
We were both doing different things, and I was doing a lot. I was gone a lot trying to learn how to do jiu-jitsu.
I was trying to be a single dad and working full time as a registered nurse, and I just wanted to train Chuck, and I never thought this whole thing is going to explode into that. I thought we'd be in my backyard doing martial arts, and just
buddies?
I didn't think it was going to go anywhere like this, and I wasn't completely prepared for it yet. So there was a couple fights I didn't go, but for the majority I was in, and even when the fights I didn't go, I was working with them back at the gym. I just didn't take the trip. Like even a lot of Glover's fights, I don't like to travel much, so I don't go. And anyway,
yeah, he went back. Like he started. Okay, I got to go to the fights. He said I got to go make sure he's on and he's got stuff. And a lot of it, like when I come back to the gym and like things weren't working right. John, hey man, do that, change this angle right here. That was it. Okay, got it. Yeah. Like if hitting the guy in the body, I'm not dropping him. Okay, it's I'll change that angle. So, there it is. My sparring partner doesn't like it much, but
So here, let me just kind of encapsulate this. John Hackleman is not a full-time trainer at this point. Is Chuck Liddell a full-time fighter?
yeah, but pretty much, yeah. But in the beginning when I first, I don't know when it stopped, but I was bartending and teaching my kickboxing school, all the classes. Teaching all the classes at my kickboxing school.
Slow kickboxing, right?
And training to fight for a while. But then once I started getting a few more fights, I just decided, okay, now I'm just gonna do that. I'll just do that.
You were making enough money at that point because there wasn't a lot of money at the sport at this time.
Yeah, but I was making enough money between the gym and fighting. I was doing okay.
Were you a big ticket seller? I have to assume you were.
I don't think I ever personally sold a ticket.
Holy shit. Wow. Guy Metzger, probably 14. Guy Metzger is absolute savage. He's got a win over Tito Ortiz at this point. He's 1-1 against Tito. Dude, you got dropped in the first round with 2 minutes left in the round. That's where we saw Chuck Liddell face adversity.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I caught him, kept going, kept working on stuff, and was able to land I set him up with that punch. I was over, and then I got through. And funny it was that
Metzger hook, the Guy Metzger hook.
Yeah, I cut it through. I think that was the one you wrote. You just diagrammed on the and stick figures on the thing before the fight.
What?
You diagrammed stick figures on a board before the fight.
John was goofing around in the room, but we're like, hey, it looks exactly like that punch.
Well, if you kind of look at it this way, you get dropped with 2 minutes left in the round. You make adjustments in between the rounds. You got Scott Adams and John Lewis in your corner as well.
In the corner?
Yeah, as well. I think you guys, it was the three of you guys.
We got
And 22 seconds into the second round, you land 5 right hands in a row. Like Hackleman must have saw something because that window was open and
we named it. It was the Guy Metzger hook. We named it in camp.
Oh, so you guys saw the film on it. You saw it, huh?
A little bit, but there's a little bit, and then he was a southpaw, I'm pretty sure, and that's why the right hook landed in that angle. That was a pretty one, man.
So we had Murillo Bustamante on, and he actually cried in the interview at this point of your career because he said Carlson Gracie offered to train Chuck to fight me, and that's when I knew I had to close that chapter in my life and stop reaching out to him to see if we could, work together again. Do you remember that? I think it was public. I think he publicly stated it.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember.
John, do you remember anything about that?
What do you? Who asked who?
So the Brazilian top team split from Carlson Gracie.
Right.
And Murillo Bustamante left with Mario Sperry over to Brazilian top team. And Carlson Gracie publicly stated that he would train Chuck. And the rumor was that he reached out to Chuck's camp in order to help train Chuck to beat Murillo.
Yeah. That guy came around. Remember him?
He did come around.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
He came out.
That guy.
Remember? Yeah, he came out and remember he was showing us. I forget what choke, but he had his guy like get him in this choke as hard as you can. He'll get out of it, and he couldn't get out of it. Remember that?
Yeah,
I remember he was there. Yeah.
So he actually went to your school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he did. I remember, and he brought a couple guys, and they were going. Oh, he was showing you how to get out of a guillotine, and so we had one of our guys get him in a guillotine. One, not Carlson, but one of his guys, and he couldn't get out of our guy's guillotine. I can't remember who had him in. It might have been. I don't think it was, but it could have been. It wasn't Scott Adams. Yeah, I forget who it was, but I remember him being there. He came to the house.
Yeah.
He came to the house. Yeah. I didn't know what that was all about, but I didn't know. I thought he was just coming down, passing through.
Yeah, Murillo Boost.
You know
that?
Do you know that that's what he wanted?
I didn't pay that much attention.
So Murillo always looked at him as like a father figure, and like he wasn't getting the training in because Carlson was in California.
This guy, Carlson.
Yeah, he was in California with his school, and he wasn't getting the training, and there was money issues. And when he left for Brazilian top team, it was like his father turned his back on. He's an older
guy, though, right? He's older than I was. He's older.
Oh yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah.
So when Carlson did that, he's just like, man, it just destroyed me. Yeah, that's. You won a decision against Murillo Bustamante. Okay.
You gotta go. You gotta take off, huh?
If you gotta bounce, dude, you gotta bounce. Yeah.
He's gotta take a red eye.
Okay, here, Marsuluev, you beat him, and then you got Vitor Belfort. You beat him by this.
He's one of those guys that was. I watch out for his submission. I wish I'd gotten tape on him because I couldn't get tape on. I couldn't find tape on him because when I saw his submission stuff, I'm like, oh man.
I was a little nervous for that fight.
Why was I worried about his submissions?
Well, it was Russian mafia. I mean, murder.
Yeah. I was worried about the guy because we couldn't get any video.
Why did some of them like don't go? Just be careful, super careful with submission. So I'm okay. I won't go on the ground with them. And I mean, after I saw it later, I saw some of the stuff about. I would have jumped on top of him when I heard him.
So you were supposed to fight Vitor Belfort at UFC 38, and it gets rescheduled to UFC 37.5. This may have been the best, like, in shape Chuck Liddell I've ever seen.
Yeah,
against Belfort.
Yeah, it was a great shape.
Belfort was kind of known for being like mentally, I don't know, like sporadic and difficult to deal with pre-fight.
Who?
What was your experience with him?
I didn't have any. I don't know. It seemed fine with me. I don't.
Who are you talking about?
Vitor Belfort.
Oh, he was he was a bit much. He was just hyper. He was like a hyper. He was a star. I mean, he was like one of these guys I was saying is like they're really a star. He knows it. He just kind of had that attitude, but he was really friendly with Chuck and with us. He just seemed kind of high strung, maybe.
Chuck, you were also in London at UFC 38 when Lee Murray and Tito Ortiz had their incident.
Yeah.
What was your recollection of that?
Well, I've gone over this a lot, but no, it was I mean, I never saw what happened with them. Like,
Okay.
I didn't see it because they went to right, I went to left. I came up out of the thing, I went to the left. There was a buddy of mine that was friends with Tito and that at the time, and I knew him, and three guys were hitting him in the back of the head, so that's how I got involved.
Okay.
Throwing people off. When the cops showed up, like Tito was up chasing after. So I don't look. You're in a street fight. Like people always, he knocked him down or he dropped him or whatever. I don't know if he did or not, but if he did, I mean, you're in dress shoes after a night of drinking, in the street, and he could have got cold cocked from the side. I mean, I don't even know what happened. So I don't know. So I don't.
Okay. That's cool.
never
Like
saw
I
that.
said, you've addressed it. Let's move on.
Yeah,
He used to spar a lot of the pro boxers over at Richard Steele's gym.
Yeah.
How were those sessions? Any names that you could throw at us?
What was the guy? He won the Olympics. He won the Olympics.
Richard Steele. Oh, Olympic.
No, this guy won the Olympics. I think he won it as a cruiserweight. Andrew, I forget his name.
An American?
Yeah. And he remember he was trying to. This might be you're talking about later. This is kind of the beginning of your career. Remember he came and I told you if he tries to tries to take advantage to.
Probably.
Remember that? And then his trainer got all pissed off because I gave you the signal to dump him, and he won. What was his nickname? Hawk something. Nah, he wasn't Hawk.
Aaron
Not
Pryor.
Aaron
Pryor.
Pryor?
No.
No.
No, this guy was. He won the Olympics, and he would have.
Who's the other Hawk? Come on, dude. He's got like a million knockouts.
Who?
The Hawk.
Jeremy Jackson.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, this guy was he wasn't well known. He didn't really make it as much as a pro as he was. He won the Olympics, but when he sparred with Chuck, he came in trying to swing on Chuck, and I told him, you guys are just sparring. He's not a boxer. Don't try to take advantage of him. And I said, or he'll hurt you. And the guy was like, he was very respectful, but his trainer was like yelling at him, go harder. And
Is it
he's
Howard
training
Davis?
He's
It's
what?
Howard Davis is the only guy I could think of. Yeah.
No,
Howard
Howard
Da-
Davis trained with us.
Yeah,
Howard
okay.
Davis is my age. This guy was probably Chuck's age. Yeah, Howard Davis actually came and worked with us quite a bit.
Yeah. Phenomenal guy.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't remember him, but anyway, so Chuck ended up hurting this guy by taking him down really hard, and I can't remember his name, but I had Chuck boxing back in the day in his beginning of his career, and I had him doing kickboxing, boxing. I think I even had you enter a karate tournament once.
Yeah.
I was just having him fight wherever he could. And those were funny times, man. But anyway, go on.
Chuck, when you fought Babalu Sobral November 22nd, 2002 at UFC 40, maybe not at this time, but did you think that the UFC was protecting Tito from Babalu?
I hadn't thought about it at all, but I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that at all, but I just know that I wanted to fight. They were trying to get me to sit out and wait for Tito after the Vitor fight, and I wanted to fight. I insisted I want to fight. They said Pablo, and I think the master thought that Babalu would beat me. I don't because I still don't think he liked me that much. But
Well, at the time, was Joe Silva or was that John Peretti? It was Joe Silva.
yeah,
Did you not get along with him?
I don't know. I got along with him fine. It's a long story, but I don't think I was his favorite fighter.
Okay. Yeah, he did that with a lot of guys. Yeah, it seemed like Babalu, he did everything he could to fight Tito. Everything. He did everything he could to fight Tito. And they would, right before that would happen, they'd give it to you again. And you were just a real bad matchup for him.
Oh yeah,
Babalu kick.
yeah. Yep.
Your UFC 43 entrance with Tito Ortiz was with the Tap Out crew. What was your thoughts on that?
What do you mean?
Well, I remember it was like the Iceman. They kept putting mask on the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, but yeah, he's a Charles was my boy, so that was cool.
Yeah, yeah. Randy Couture, he lost in the third round. Did it surprise you that Randy stood and traded with you?
It just was. I mean, I just wasn't in shape for that fight. You know, I gotten hurt for that fight. Well, and going into it, I got healthy, but I just wasn't in wrestling shape. You know, because I was protecting my knee during wrestling the whole time. So I was 100% healthy by the time the fight came around, but my condition, my wrestling conditioning was gone. You know, it's like we went back and watched the fight before I fought him again. I'm like, I watched 3 minutes of the fight and I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna beat him. I got him because I just I knew that that's what had happened. What the mistake I had made. So.
Here with you, John, we'd like it if you stuck around for a little bit because we know Chuck's got to go. Let's close with this. Kevin Randleman on April 25th, 2004 fights Mirko Cro Cop. Cro Cop was supposed to murder him. You're in the corner with him and Coleman.
Well, that was a funny thing. So the night before, both Coleman and him are asking us asking me and Scott like, hey man, what do you think our game plan should be? I'm like, you're fighting tomorrow night. And now, don't get me wrong, like Kevin Randleman, I forget which fight it was. I think it was in Connecticut maybe, but I was in the back the day before, and he was talking about getting out of a triangle. And we showed him a suicide spin out of the triangle once you get deep in and just spinning out of it. We just kind of have to you're muscling out of it, right? Way to do it. We showed it to Randleman that night. He wound up doing it like 2 or 3 times in that fight. Like he's just a freak with that stuff. Like he was fighting a jiu-jitsu guy and got out of the triangle he got into it like 2 or 3 times, but he got out of it by doing that, I guess, spinning the wrong way. You know,
that might have been the Babalu fight actually.
But we taught him that on the night before the fight. But the same thing, and the thing is like he asked me I said, well, you're fighting Cro Cop. Let me see. Look, just do me a favor. You gotta fight him. Be all the way in or all the way out.
It's true.
You don't stand in kicking range. You stand out. You're not gonna feel good tomorrow. So either rush in and attack or get all the way out and just stay out, be all the way out, and then rush back in and attack. And he did. He rushed in. He caught him with that big bomb. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's legendary. Like he's got those 2 legendary moments in Pride with Fedor being another one. Chuck, man, I know you got to catch a red eye. Greatly appreciated, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks, John.
For the record, Randleman fought Babalu in Connecticut. So that was the fight that he got out of the triangles.
John, there's some real mental illness here, and this is more of like a therapy session for 2 guys that don't have the opportunity to be this fucking dorky with anybody else. So John, I'm gonna tell you, man, like your career is somebody propping up the person in the ring. Dude, what you did with Chuck it's just a masterpiece, man. It's a masterpiece. Like his head was always in it. Like he never had those doubts like Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, yeah, he's an amazing guy. I mean, I nicknamed him Iceman. I don't know, second fight or something, just because, not because of the way he was in the fight, but the way he was all the time. Like, I mean, a chick, he finds out his girlfriend's cheating on him. Oh, that's too bad. Oh, well, you know, you got a fight coming up. Yeah, okay, whatever. You know, he just never, he was the ice man. I've never seen him lose his cool. I have, but I mean, very, very seldom. And he's the Iceman. I mean, walking in that crowd, I noticed, I realized, you know, this is the guy that, I mean, you know, I started with in 91 or 92 or something, and you know, going, and that family, like, you know, John Lewis and One Kick Nick, and you know, this, you know, even the Tito thing back there, because they did train together a little bit.
Yeah.
He doesn't really like that part. He didn't like, because they don't like each other now. But I mean, they trained together for a little while, and Dana was involved in his coming up. You know, he managed him, coach. You know, not he didn't coach him. He managed him for a little while, and I don't know. There was so much that went into the building of Chuck. I'm glad that I got to be like, you know, just the stay. You know, I was always there in his gym. Not, I didn't go to all his fights in the beginning just because, until he asked me to. You know, then he's, you know, will you come work my corner like Glover did? You know, and then when he came back, he asked me to work his corner again. I'll do it. I love these guys like family, but you know, just, you know, they were so autopilot. They were on autopilot. You know.
All right. So I'm going to tell you where I had some questions, but I wasn't sure to kind of go all in on it. The person that introduced him to Dana White, was it Wayne? Was it Merriman or Wayne? Do you remember the name he threw?
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, so he had mentioned that the guy was managing Tito, or
Yeah.
kind of introduced, was the conduit between Dana and himself. I think it's a car dealer in Vegas that
Yeah,
is
yeah, it sounds familiar.
a
That's
straight friggin' gangster, bro. Like he's the real deal.
but
He's
he
100% the real deal. It's the Wayne
yeah.
guy I'm thinking of.
I know that Dana was involved with Chuck. I know that before, you know, and I knew uh before he, you know, fought in the UFC and stuff, and I know there was a connection because of the Vegas thing with One Kick and Dana, and then Alfie and John Lewis. They're all with Dana.
Together.
So
Yeah.
they're all connected, and and Chuck was there, and Chuck was, you know, one ended up being, you know, Chuck. But yeah, so there was those days, and Chuck loved Vegas. He loves Hawaii, and he loves. I took him to Hawaii for the first time, and he fell in love with it. Went over there to train. We do our black belt testing over there every year. Let me just say, last year my wife got her black belt in November, so it was, you know, it was like 2 months, 3 months ago, whatever. Um, but Chuck had I asked Chuck to come out because he comes out, you know, part of the time, and you know, my students love when Chuck Liddell is there to help put on the belt and stuff. I mean, that's phenomenal for them. But he wasn't able to make it last year, and then this year I asked him if he could come out because my wife was getting her black belt, and I wanted him there. I mean, he's like one of my, you know, original guys.
Yeah.
He 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 had to work the day before, and he had to work the day after her ceremony to put on her belt and be there for her belt and stuff. He flew out to Hawaii from LA right after he got done work, made it there the day of the ceremony, went to the place where having the ceremony, you know, was there at the ceremony for her. And then he had to get on a red eye that night to get back to LA because he had to work the next morning doing a appearance. And he didn't ask me for a penny. Usually that would be a $50,000 trip, you know.
Right.
He did.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
he did. He just, that's Chuck. I mean, fucking A. You know, what I mean, he had to. I mean, while we were doing the ceremony, he had to rush to catch a flight back home. Just he was in Hawaii. He was flying more than he was in Hawaii. He spent more time on the fucking airplane than he did there. He's a phenomenal. I mean, he's really mellow about it. He doesn't very quiet about his accomplishments or his those personality significant personality traits that's so looked upon. I mean, it's tattooed. I mean, loyalty, this, that. Those are things that just come natural for him. So, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Like you hear a lot about his mom. He mentions his
Yeah.
grandma.
Yeah.
He very rarely. I mean, I've never. I don't listen to a lot of other people's interviews, but I've never
Yeah.
seen his father mentioned anywhere.
He
Even
talks
in,
about his grandpa. His grandpa was a
yeah,
big
Grandpa was his dad.
yeah, exactly.
Grandpa was dad, and then I became his older brother when he was,
Or
his
godfather, something.
grandpa. His grandpa was his dad, and his grandma he loved dearly, and his mom, who passed away, I think 2 years ago. They were very close. Yeah. So
did you ever meet his father?
no, no, I don't. Did he?
Oh
I never
wow.
did. I don't even think he did.
Once as an adult, I think, but
Oh,
just
he did?
once.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He came after Chuck made it, and yeah,
Yep, of
and
course.
Chuck came and talked to me like he was very upset. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Okay, yeah, it was after he had already made it. Then all of a
Right.
sudden he came out of the woodwork. Yeah, but Chuck never had a father. His grandfather was his father.
And you think about this, John. Like we're all parents here. All of us have kids. Some of our greatest, like John, you've been in many incredible situations in life. But I think we can all agree some of the greatest moments of our life is watching our children succeed or accomplish things or some sort of rite of passage. This guy missed out on his child becoming a world champion.
Yep.
and a great man, and a great
An
man. Yeah,
incredible man.
yeah, and he has,
Along the way,
he has,
becomes a world champion
yeah.
upon being a great man.
Well,
And
the
he has two
punishment
brothers.
fit the crime for that guy, I guess.
Yeah,
That he
I don't
wasn't
know
there.
anything about it. I don't know anything about it. He never talked ill of him or talked about him at all. And I knew when he came, he told me that he was pretty upset about that. But he has two brothers, Sean and Dan, and they both live local here. And his sister lives around here, and he's a blue collar. As you just talked to him, I mean, he's a blue collar guy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the best kind.
My dream matchup for him was Dan Henderson. We never got to see that. I would have loved to have seen that.
Hmm. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, yeah.
It's a good fight.
I think Prime Chuck would beat him. Um, yeah, I think he would have. Yeah, Dan Henderson trained with us a few times. He's the one that got helped Glover get into the UFC because he wanted his guy to beat Glover, so he called me to fight Sukaju. Remember
Uh-huh.
Sukaju? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said no. And I just didn't think, Glover, that was a good match. And he called me a mother hen. He's like, yeah, you're just protecting your fighter like a mother hen. I was like, whatever. And so I went back and I got pissed. I started watching videos of this guy. And I was like, because there was so much hype behind him. And I was like,
Well, so could you. His first four fights are insane. Like he's nobody, and now
yeah,
he's got to win over
Nogueira.
Nogueira. He's got to win over Nogueira. Yeah, like 4 fights in. Like,
it's because of his look and stuff too, I'm sure.
Right.
But I just kept, but when I watched the video of him, I was like, Glover could beat this guy tomorrow. So I called Dan Henderson back. I said, we'll take the fight, bro. So they fought, and that was Dana showed up, and that's what got him into the UFC. He knocked him out.
Yeah, he ended that hype train. Yeah. I mean, did you kind of, Dan, you called me a mother hen. It really offended me. So now you've convinced me that my guy needs to fight your guy.
That's what I called him and I said yes. But after my guy, after Glover beat him, I called him the next day. I go, hey, anybody else or something? I was a smart ass because me and Dan are pretty close because we have a connection with Team Quest,
Yeah.
Like I trained Matt Lindland for like 10 of his fights. And I work with Randy Shield, Randy Couture. And then, they fought, I actually talked to Randy today because for some stuff, but Randy's phenomenal guys. But we were pretty close with Team Quest. We trained with some of them, we interacted with them a lot, just like we did American Top Team and AKA.
Was Linland is, I'm not gonna say grimy, but I don't know any other word to kind of describe it. Like, was he as grimy in the gym? Like, everyone says he's got a funk to him.
Yeah, I don't know. He trained with me for probably 10 of his fights, and I worked as, he actually came and lived in my house while, because
It
he's
wasn't that bad.
I never noticed anything. He like slept in my guest room, and I never did.
How,
Maybe,
how was he in the gym? Like, they say sometimes he could be a little heavy-handed in regards to
yeah,
handing
yeah.
out punishment.
He was, yeah, not in a bad way at all. No, he was just, he got a little, nothing like Hector Lombard, nothing like that.
Okay, did you
Oh
have Hector?
wait, Hector tried to knock him out once. You just remind me of that. Wait, Chuck's gonna say so. Oh, he's in the cab. Um, um,
Hector
he
Lombard, Matt Lindland.
Yeah, they we I brought Lindland over to Team American Top Team because we were really close. I was super close with Ricardo Laborio and some of their guys, and we worked back and forth with each other's guys. Like I'd work on the hooks and some of my power punching, takedown defense stuff with his guys, and he would work, get off the bottom submissions and stuff with some of my guys. I mean, Chuck went over to American Top Team quite a few times. Uh, so did Glover. Well, when I brought Matt over there, man, fucking how Hector Lombard just starts swinging on Matt. I thought he was gonna drop him, but I think Matt just got into a clinch and took him down, and yeah, that was pretty. That Matt's not really heavy-handed. He's just not a striker, so he just kind of comes at you. But I never noticed that. I never noticed him being unfair or slimy or I don't know.
Well, I mean, in our Matt Lindland interview, I mean, these are all things he admits as
Yeah, no,
well. I mean, it is, yeah, man, I'm a farmer. I come
I just
in,
never,
sometimes I
I just
shower,
never
sometimes I
noticed.
don't. So with Lombard, do people need to separate them? Because I could see that being kind of explosive.
Yeah, it was, and Lombard's like that with a lot of people. In fact, um,
For sure.
but Ricardo was going to send Hector to me for his next camp and have him do his whole camp here because he thought he would, become more respectful and stuff because our gym is run a lot more like a martial arts school, like a dojo
Oh,
than
yeah.
we're not like a fight gym. We don't have ours is a martial arts gym and we happen to train fighters there, but we're not run. I don't let my fighters talk back. I don't let, they wouldn't act the way some of these fighters acted. They would not last like that because our gym is run, and I'm the coach, but I'm more like the sensei because we're like a martial arts school. So Ricardo was going to send Hector here, and something happened. Like Hector was planning on coming, and we were going to have him come out and go through. But he ended up like having a fight out of the country, and we ended up. Then he ended up, I think, splitting from Ricardo. So it never happened, thank God.
We had Hector Lombard on where, like, the beginning of his career, like he defected from Cuba
Yeah,
in Australia.
Yeah.
He's got kicked out of every single gym in Australia. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think a gym exists at the time he was there in Australia that he wasn't asked to leave.
Yeah.
Like, right before his Kyle Noak fight, they broke into his house and killed his dogs, like trying to kill him. You know, I mean, it's a country with no guns, and his
And his
dogs
dogs got shot.
his dogs got shot. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
he
he was
fucked
able
up.
to get out a window to get away.
The poor
Dogs, yes.
Yeah, the
no,
dogs
the
didn't
poor
do
guy
anything.
that shot the dog, because he's probably more upset about that than he would have if he hit Hector.
Yeah.
I would be, man, if I had to shoot a dog,
Yeah.
anyway.
You guys also had did you guys also work out with Cesar Gracie as well?
Yeah, we had the pit jitsu. We started pit jitsu with Cesar Gracie because in the early days, um, I before the UFC, when I opened my gym, I wanted to be a real gym, real martial art. So when people came in to spar and they would ask the rules, I would just say, "There's no rules. You just go."
It's
And,
UFC one. It's
and
UFC
I
one. Your corner's
realized
got to throw in a
quickly
towel.
what?
Yeah, your corner's got to throw in a towel. This is UFC one.
If
Yeah.
your eyes getting gouged.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't usually we were wearing gloves at the time, so luckily there were no eye gouging, um but it was basically, I meant just hit as hard as you want to be hit and stuff like that. But then people started using takedowns more because they didn't like getting punched or kicked by us. So I knew I had to start learning that and working on that. So I did that, you know, and like I would get Cesar Gracie and I would go, we would trade. Like he would come and train. He brought the Diaz brothers a couple times, and I would work with like hooks with them and work some power punching, and he would work on takedown defense or get off the bottom and stuff like that. And I worked like that with Ricardo and stuff like that. So, and then I had wrestlers like, like Matt Lindland and Sammy Henson, and there was a couple other. There's one that fought in the UFC. I forget his name, but I would work with them on punches, and they would help me with my takedown defense, like from a wrestler, and even how to do takedowns. And so I traded all these guys for a long time, and then I met Caesar, and we started working on bottom escape, bottom escape, bottom escape. That's all I cared about, and all he wanted to learn was more punching stuff. So we traded, and then we made a little video series, and we called it Pit Jitsu. I mean, not Pit. Yeah, it was called Pit Jitsu, and it never went anywhere. I don't even know who got a hold of it, but so we became pretty close, and he would come to the pit a lot. I didn't go up there very often, but he came down to the pit, and like I said, he brought the Diaz brothers down a few times. So I was pretty close with a lot of these guys in the beginning. And we're all just exchanging, information. To be honest, like Chuck, being a top level wrestler, and then he started picking up the jujitsu. Um, he was, you know, he was one of the instructors of the pit, and he was a huge, he was a huge teacher, just as much or more of a student than he was, and him and Glover. I mean, he worked with Glover so much. They were so close. Glover gave his all to Chuck when he had fights coming up, and Chuck gave his all to Glover by teaching him stuff and being his mentor. So beautiful relationship.
Yeah, the sparring sessions between Glover and Chuck, I'm assuming here you would often have to say pump the brakes, because those are two guys that'll kill each other.
Never. No, they were teaching the whole time. They were just going and
So it was a good, healthy
no,
spar.
never, nobody. If Chuck hit Glover, he would probably, he would hate himself. They went learning mode. They never. There was a couple guys that Chuck would stand and bang with at but him and Glover were like, they were like,
Cool.
it was a beautiful thing to watch the way they would, interact when they sparred and stuff. It's just all learning.
Wow.
That's good because they could have ruined each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. We got a
Yeah.
local guy, Angel Manfredi's going into the Boxing Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah.
Oh
His
yeah.
his best rounds were in the gym. Like, and I mean, like
What?
he left a lot of brain cells in the gym.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Manfredi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah. Who was that boxer? Now it's gonna bug me, the boxer that Chuck. What happened was, I was telling you about, you know, who was a pro boxer, and I told him my guy's not a boxer, don't go hard. But at the end, when he started going hard on Chuck, and I gave Chuck the signal, Chuck took him down really hard, and that's what we planned. If this guy tried to take advantage of Chuck, and we didn't have a mat on our ring. Our ring was on a wood floor.
Oh,
And Chuck took him down pretty hard, and this guy had to pull out of his next fight because he sprained an ankle or something. And I was like, but why were you going hard? We told you we're just sparring. We don't want to go hard. We're not boxers. So why the fuck would you do that? He was apologizing, and
He was,
his manager was pissed, but
yeah.
the fighter just he owned it, and he was like, "I'm sorry, man. I deserve that. Sorry, I went too hard and stuff." So that
You
was
might be thinking of the manager's name, because you were thinking Al Heyman managed a lot of Olympic boxers.
never heard that name.
Okay. And you said Aaron. I don't know who.
Yeah, when I was fighting,
Aram?
That's what I thought. That's
when
what
I
you
was
said.
boxing, I had a guy
Was he?
named
Did he
Jim
box
Elliott.
for Bob Arum? Was he one of Bob Arum's guys?
This guy,
Yeah.
I could have been, yeah.
Maybe that's
He
where it
was,
came from. Man,
I mean,
Joe.
he won an Olympic gold medal, so he was. I mean, he got out of the Olympics with a big hype, and I'm sure they bought him up, but I don't think he really made it as a like Howard Davis, who's he
Yeah.
was one of my greatest friends. He passed away, and I love him. But he was huge at our gym. He came here a lot. We met in American Top Team a lot. Chuck's corner. We worked with him a lot, but he's like the perfect example of probably the greatest amateur boxer ever to come out of the United States. But then he didn't really make the pros as high. I
No.
think he won a title, but it wasn't anything like his
No.
He
amateur.
wasn't Sugar Ray.
What?
He wasn't Sugar Ray. He didn't get to that level.
He didn't, yeah, because they were stablemates in
Right.
the 76 Olympics, and he was actually better than Sugar Ray as an amateur, but Sugar Ray, because of he just adapted to that
Politics.
more.
Yeah.
And
Personality. So speaking of Sugar Ray Leonard, Chuck was actually on the Adam Corolla show where they had a punch meter, and
Oh, yeah.
Chuck's punch had the same like impact as Sugar Ray Leonard's, like the exact same impact.
Oh yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, imagine him, Glover, and now my grandson Alex Pereira, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Glover would be like my son, lineage wise.
Right.
And I held mitts for him in Vegas, and I realized that why these guys get paid what they do.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Oh, these fucking guys. Yeah, Chuck had the same punch. It was just a little different. It was more of a snap. And Glover is more of a Mike Tyson thud. And I don't know what Alex Pereira's punch is like. I can't title it. It's crazy though.
I got to ask one question about the guys you trained. Did you train Jason Von Flue, or was that
Yeah.
a Scott Adams guy?
No, that's my guy.
He was one of your guys? Okay, he came down and did a dual meet. The slow guys did a dual meet with Submission Factory in Bell's Garden. I don't know, Bell Gardens in like 1999, and he was on that card that I fought on. He was an interesting guy. He had a good career.
Yeah, he was a very interesting guy.
Did he hone the Von Flue choke with you guys, or did he come with that?
I think I don't know 100%, but I would bet a lot of money it came from training with Scott, because Scott
Yeah.
Adams was the submission king, it's slow and
He was pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then came, for Chuck, then came John Lewis, but the original um guy was Scott Adams. Yeah.
Yeah.
So John Lewis is doing parties in outer space
I
right
don't
now.
know. I don't know.
That guy's always got something crazy going.
I talked to him not too long ago about it was something else when I didn't know about all this stuff, or I would have asked him about it. But since then, I've been seeing that. It's kind of like he's in like Taiwan and Singapore. He's like an international man now.
So when we interviewed John, it was his first interview in like a decade. There were certain topics that we couldn't talk about because a week later he was in like Saudi or Abu Dhabi, one of those Arab Emirate type states, or places, I should say. And he was just like, yeah, it could affect our negotiating. And it's like a multi million-dollar deal. And I can't screw it up. Like, all right, we'll just stick to fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting guy. Chuck's last 4 kickboxing matches were for a promoter, Eric Nolan, at Strongbow Stadium. How was Eric as a promoter?
You know what? I fought there. That's why it's funny because I fought there in like 76, I think, in the regional Golden Gloves. And when Chuck got to fight there, I was really happy. It was like brought back old memories. And Eric Nolan, I really like that guy. He's a really good martial arts instructor who kind of like me taught martial arts and had some fighters, and I think we beat all his fighters, but they were pretty good.
Do you remember training with John Polakowski?
Yeah, he was my buckets of blood.
Yeah.
I named him Buckets of Blood because he bled so much.
Yeah.
He was too tough for his own good.
Man, your career is fascinating. Okay, so this has taken a long time to put together, but we got it. So we interviewed you probably a little over a year ago, and now we sat with Chuck. I am putting on record right now, we will get Glover, and I will be calling you again to pull you into that as well.
Get Glover on for you?
Oh, dude, I don't think you understand, man. Like, if you look at the emotions that's going to come from the period of time that he leaves and comes back.
Yeah, we were basket cases the whole time. Yeah. Yeah.
And when he was exiled, he was knocking out people like Rico Rodriguez.
Dude,
Yeah.
During his exile.
He was
murking
fighting
him.
heavyweight. He had like 20 fights in Brazil when he was there.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he could have made the UFC and had top competition, but he didn't just sit around while he was in Brazil. He had I think he had close to 20 fights or something crazy.
Yeah.
And he fought Rico and he fought he fought heavyweight most of the time.
When he came back and he lost to John Jones, it just looked like he missed his window. He was gone too long. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But then he still wins a title. I mean, that's a Rocky story.
I cried. Like I'm next to my wife crying about a man who I've never met. I've never met, never talked to him, winning a title.
It was crazy that night. That night when he came, I don't like working corners. I don't like, like a lot of Chuck's fights. I didn't go work. I train him here. I don't like. I get really nervous in the corner. Big John knows that, and I'm like the most throw-in towel guy in all the UFC because if my fighter's hurt, like with Polakowski, I stopped one of his UFC fights because he wasn't winning, and he was getting hurt, so I threw in the towel. And he was, they always tell you in the pre-fight rules meeting, don't ever throw in the towel or we'll fine you. And I was like, if the referee doesn't stop the fight, I'm gonna throw in the fucking towel. And Big John McCarthy, when he gives when he gives these little before the fight, he'll give you a little announcement of what you can and can't do. And he used to tell the fighters, to the cornermen, he would tell the trainers, you got to do like John Hackleman does. If your fighter's getting hurt, you should know it before we do, and you should stop it, and John's the only one that does that. Nobody else stops fight. So I took that as a compliment for the most part, but I realized that it is a compliment. I care about my fighters, and other people recognize that. Even Mark, you know, he's talking about that. Herb has talked about that. But one thing it does that people don't realize is it takes their chance of winning away. So when
Yeah.
I throw in the towel, I mean, a lot of times the guy gets dropped and I throw in the towel, he could have got up and maybe won the fight. And so sometimes it's not a good thing. So I started thinking, maybe it's not cut out for me. Maybe I should be a trainer and not a cornerman. So I kind of stopped being cornerman for the most part, unless somebody asks me and they really want me, and I'll do it like Glover did. He goes, "Hey, coach, I want you to be in my corner up till I, win the title. That's all I ask. So I said, all right. He goes, I know you hate working corners, but I'd really appreciate it. So I'm not, you say no to that? I mean, so any of my guys that really wants me in there, I will. But if they don't, I'd rather not.
Yeah, with Glover, if his last fight affected you so much where you retired, you made announcement that I can't corner anymore.
Oh, I was trying to stop that fight, and I was being outvoted and out. Even the Mark Goddard came into the corner in between rounds, and he just singled me out. He goes, "Hey, I'm just asking you, do you want to stop this fight?" And I was outnumbered by the corner. I wasn't the head corner like I usually am, because Glover had
Yeah.
Finelli. So I didn't want to create that drama. So I told Mark Goddard, let them, whatever they don't want me to stop it. So, they were adamant that I didn't stop it. And I'm glad I didn't, because in the third, I would have loved to stop it. But between the fourth and fifth, stopping it would have not been a good thing. Seeing, if you could see the future. In the fifth round, he didn't get hit that much. So, so if I did stop the fight when I wanted to, it wouldn't have turned out as well as it did. So my stopping fights where it does show I care about my fighter, it doesn't always work out, and it's not always the best thing to do.
John,
It's a hard one for me.
well, here. I'm going to tell you, this is a topic. What you just went through, like your range of emotions and understanding, and good, bad, what could have been, what shouldn't have been. I've never heard another corner address that the way
Yeah,
you
they
have.
don't.
They
True.
don't, because it's like in the early UFC 2, the corner will turn around and throw the towel into the audience. It's just, there's a responsible, like your duty is to protect your fighter.
Yeah.
You're their first line of defense. The ref is the last line
Not
of
the
defense.
not the ref. The ref is to referee the fight, not to care for the fighter. That's the corner's job. I've always known that.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I am so close with, John and Herb and Mark Goddard and stuff,
Mhm.
because I have a really tight relationship, and they know when they're reffing my fighter, I'm going to take care of them.
John, I've never heard anybody talk about it the way you have.
I wish more corners
We're brave.
do this,
We're
because I've
brave.
seen so many high-level cornermen who I'm not going to name, but they let their fighters just get the shit kicked out of them. It's like, I almost
Yeah.
threw in the towel for Chuck. It was Chuck's opponent. It was the guy that beat him the first time. We were just talking about him.
Jeremy Horn.
Jeremy Horn.
I-
He was getting the shit kicked out of him. I'm like yelling at the corner, stop the fucking fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to see Jeremy get hurt.
John,
I was like thinking of throwing in the towel,
For
and
him.
Chuck would have lost. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's like, I'd rather Chuck lose than Jeremy Horn get killed. I don't
Get
know.
blind. Yeah.
But anyway, the fight
Yeah, you gotta
ended up.
run over.
The referee did stop it, and
yeah, you got to run over to the other side of the ring, throw the towel
okay.
in.
I'll tell you one. My son's fighting. So I'm at the fights. My son's about to fight. So I'm sitting in the audience. I'm not in the corner. I'm in the audience, and two other guys are fighting. in the ring. It was a ring. It was a kickboxing match. And one guy's getting the shit kicked out of him. I can't. It's hurting me. It's hurting me right in my heart, right here. And he's getting the shit kicked out of him. I was yelling, "Stop the fucking fight!" Nobody's stopping it. So I stood up and I yelled, "Stop the fight!" And so the referee stops the fight. And the commission guy is looking all around in the audience, and everybody's in the ring like, who yelled stop the fight? Because somebody from the commission comes into the audience and he goes, "Mr. Hackleman, did you just yell stop the fight?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Was that your fighter?" I said, "No, but he's getting the shit. He's gonna die." And the guy and the commissioner said, "You can't do that. That wasn't your fighter." I was like, "Oh shit." So they get back in the ring. They all settle it. They get back to the corners. They start the fight up again. And the guy that I yelled stop the fight for, he ended up knocking the guy out.
Oh God.
See?
Yeah, it's when you gotta
See?
go. That's when you go exit left.
Yeah.
I gotta
It's time
go.
to go home.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to. I was wrong. And that could have happened to my guys a few times. So it's a thing where it eats me up because I don't know if stop it too early, stop it too late. Did I tell him to keep? Did I tell him to follow through enough? Did he lose because I didn't get him in good enough shape? I hate the corner, man. I hate it. Hate it.
John,
I've been doing it since like 78.
we got you for 2 hours, buddy. I think
Thank
you
you.
were
Thank you,
scheduled
bro.
for an hour. I'm gonna tell you, I'm next time we're in Connecticut, I'm stopping over at Glover's gym.
Yeah, you'd love it. He is
beg.
such a kind-hearted. He's such a laughing guy. He's just a laughing, fun guy that has a meditation room, and he's just that guy. He's like a Zen master.
I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
him.
well, so remind me next week. I'll get him to do it. He'll do it if I tell him to. He's got to. I'm his fucking coach.
Let's do it.
Dude, I'm gonna take you up on that. And
do it. But you don't have anything with him, like you already like.
I'm already done.
He's not pissed off at you or anything.
No, fuck, dude.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Then he'll do it. He'll do it.
I mean, other than Hicks and Gracie, I mean, there's really no one else I kind of.
He'll do it. He'll do it.
Awesome, man. Greatly appreciate it, John. Absolute legend. Thank you, sir.
All right. Let me know when this is on.
Oh, a couple weeks. Joey, stick around. We got to close.
All right, bro. Thanks.
Be good.
See you guys. Bye, Joey.
All right. All right.
Dude.
The Iceman. We get a lot of legends, but that's a straight up legit Hall of Famer.
That's like probably I within a month between Spotify and that'll probably get us about 40,000-50,000 views in about a month.
When the UFC, he was the first guy to be a star when the UFC got big. So
yeah.
As much as I love the Hoist Gracies and the Ken Shamrocks, like when it blew up, he was on top.
Well, yeah, he was a cartoon character but could fight. Like he was like if Harold Howard could actually fight and like kick people's asses and stuff like that and come up with those catchphrases with the mullet, the wife beater.
Yep.
He'd be huge.
If he didn't have an oxy problem, he was Harold Howard without a pill problem. That's right.
Issues with his driver's license and kind of where to park his car, all of those things. But no, dude, we're killing it, man. We've had one killer guest after another. We've got a good year. And there's going to be a lull with some of the guests. We're expecting it, but we haven't hit it yet.
That's right.
So I'm kind of two here. First off, we're revamping the podcast. It's going to be the MMA History Podcast. We kind of changed the name on some of the platforms, and our views went up like 30x.
Yeah, for search engines, of course.
So we're, and like, could you imagine, like, if like a jerk off like Jesse on Fire decided to say he's the MMA History Podcast?
Did you call him Justin on purpose? Was that an accident?
It was. I didn't mean. I mean, He lives in Texas. Jesse Merle's his real name.
Yeah.
So like if something like that were to happen, I mean, I'd hate to say I'd make the news, but like I'd have to. Like it'd be like one of those, like the Japanese guys with the swords. Like if I didn't handle that business, like I couldn't look at myself in the mirror.
Right. Well, you'd only make the news if you got caught.
No. I would make sure I got caught.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it would have to be like, no, nobody takes this. So we're gonna take the name, revamp the intro. Our travel schedule at BKFC is pretty intense. And Lytle's is worse than mine. He'll probably pop in a couple times a year, And I know with Ray Longo, we'll have him for Ray Longo. But,
Of course.
like you and I have been doing all the heavy lifting. So I think it's right that we just kind of put the podcast where it's supposed to be. We're going to have T-shirts, stickers. I'm going to get packages out to a whole bunch of people throughout the country. Yourself, I'm probably going to send you a nice T-shirt and sticker package to give away.
I think I've earned one.
Well, I mean, giveaways. They give them away. But no, we're kind of repackage things. Where I'm torn is I've got an interview with Nate Marquardt.
Okay. That's right.
It's about 40 minutes long. I've been sitting on it for like maybe 3 months. I had to wake up at like 3:30 or 3:15 in the morning to catch him on a Sunday at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Is he in Japan or Thailand?
He's in Myanmar.
Okay.
Which is in like the middle of a civil war. So he's there preaching like the word of Jesus Christ and the Bible and stuff like that. And Myanmar is completely shut down. Like it's like North Korea shut down. And there's 2 factions in the country, and he's living in one of the war zones.
Wow.
When we talked about fighting and stuff like that, the look on his eye of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And he's sending me emails at the same time, which I'm not checking. I'm just like, it's not registering.
Right.
And during the interview, he's like figuring out how to message me through Zoom to inform me that he has to go.
So it's a bonus episode.
I think I'm going to drop it on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to if I drop it on a Monday, I'll have something on a Thursday. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I got like Eddie Truck Gordon. I'm going to record him next week. Maybe I'll do those 2 in the same week or something like that. Because I know he won, the Ultimate Fighter season 19. Super conversational. I don't know. I got to figure out a week where I can drop the Marquardt. And dude, the only reason we got it, there's a guy named Hong Kong Fooey. I don't think you've met him yet. He's a moderator on theonlyground.com. Dude, super cool cat.
I know the name.
He's always been posting our stuff. The only reason we got Marquardt was because of him. So Marquardt was kind of like bullied. I'm not going to say bullied, but he definitely got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe one day Nate will come back because his career is incredible. Like if you really like look at like the top
King
5, the top 5 athletes that the UFC couldn't get, that definitely when they got them had to pay a higher amount. Petty Pimblett's one of them. Hector Lombard's one of them. Mm-hmm. Eddie Alvarez is one of them. Nate Marquardt is absolutely one of those names. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn, but either way, like, share, subscribe. Let your neighbors know. If you're listening at this point, I think we're supposed to do that in the beginning of this thing. So, dude, I also took a webinar of like how to promote a podcast.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can just put the city that you're in the comments, it helps us with the algorithm. And I will personally give it a heart.
Oh,
dude,
I'll do it too. I'll give you a heart.
Dude. That's the type of shit that they were saying to me.
Well, let's see if it works.
Oh, dude, it was so fun. drop it in the middle of the podcast. Oh, it's great for interactions. I'm like sitting here like, I paid $30 for this. You know, like it was just one douchebag thing after another, bro.
All right, so leave your city in the comments.
There ain't no one
Let's
doing
see
it.
what happens.
Ain't no one doing that this Sparring podcast. Either way, all right, brother. Do your thing, man.
Good to
I'll
see
let
you.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.